Okay. So you can assign up to 5 security groups. So that is the maximum you can assign to an instance. However, you can have up to 250 rules. So the way you can define the 250 rules is you can define 50 rules per security group, or you can mix also. Like for example, I have 100 rules in one security group, the rest of the 40 distributed, rest of the 150 distributed between the four. So you can, it is not necessary that every security group has to have 50 rules. You can have up to 50 rules, up to 50 rules. Yes, 250 groups. Yeah, you can have up to 50 rules per security group.
And how many security groups? Sorry.
Five, maximum
Okay.
five, and total of 250 only.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered this before. Yeah, I guess.
Okay. So security group act at the instance level. You need to remember this. Where
So
you
route table is at subnet level and security group is at instance level.
repeat that.
So route table is at subnet or gateway level and security group is at instance level.
Route table is a configuration of routing. It is not a firewall. There is another concept called network ACL, access control lists. So these are the firewall rules that you define at the subnet level. So you need to get you need you many people, including me, we have got confused at the very beginning. There's so many things like security group, NACL, then you have the route table, then you have the NAT instance. So you get a lot of confused. So you need to remember that you need to understand and differentiate between these tools. Some of the concepts at the very beginning I did tell you: security groups, NACL, internet gateway, NAT gateway, NAT instance, virtual private gateway, customer gateway, right? So, so some of these concepts you need to remember.
Yeah, the knuckle acts at the subnet level.
Yes, the NACL acts at the subnet level, and the security group act at the server level. It's 100% exam question, and they will not ask you just what level it acts. They'll give you a scenario wherein where and ask you where you need to configure the rule to communicate. So if it is touching the server, if it's something blocking at the server level, you need to configure at the security group. So these are, you might set up network ACLs with similar rules similar to your security group in order to add additional layer of security. So this is the first level of security groups, and ACLs are the second level of security. So this is another important point. So it acts, the security groups are stateful. If you send a request from your instance, the response traffic for that request is allowed to flow in regardless of the inbound security group rule. So that is exactly what.
So let's say in your account
Mhm,
or or on your VPC.
mhm,
Uh, let's say you have servers. So let's say you have servers, and also on the back of that you have other machines.
mhm.
So how you can set up the security group for the web servers and for the back end behind it. So this way, uh, the the machines or whatever server behind the web server will only connect to the web server and not to the internet. But the web server, I think they should connect to the internet, right?
So consider this as a web server. Okay, this is your database server. Okay, and this
Yes.
is another web server. and this is your database server. Okay. Now you want to communicate to this web server and this web server. So whatever traffic comes into this web servers that is coming in here, there is a firewall here. Which says any communication by this guy is allowed. So there will be a firewall here. Now again, every server will have a firewall at the very beginning. Now if you know very well, so you can create a firewall within the server itself. You can define what communication can come in, what ports can be accepted. You can define within the server. This is outside the server. So you define what is coming. If this server wants to come, this is a web server needs to communicate to database server. If there is no, even though there is a network connection there, if there is a no rule here which says that W can communicate to D, this cannot communicate to D. The same way, if this has to communicate to this web server for integration, so there is a rule here. So if the rule defines that this IP address on this port using what protocol can come in, only that can come in. Otherwise, it blocks anything. And there is something called inbound and outbound rules. So stateless and stateful is if a connection is allowed inside, then the connection to back is also allowed. So it's a two-way communication. When I am allowing somebody to come into my home, he can easily go out of my home. I do not have to lock him inside my home and not let him go. That is regarding the security group. Network ACL. So this is at the security group. Now, hold on a minute. So I have defined the security group here. Now consider this as your subnet. In the subnet, I have something here, another second level of firewall called a NACL. In the NACL, I can define what communication again can come in and what can go out. The difference between the NACL and this security group is I have to allow two-way communication. So if I'm coming using HTTP protocol from 10.15. What are your local laptop IP addresses or your server IP addresses, I need to allow in as well as I need to allow a route outside to go back. It does not take the same path. It takes a parallel path of going out. So this is one path, this is one path. So I need to explicitly define what is coming in and explicitly define what can go out. So that is the difference between NACL and the security group. Here is the SG. Got it?
Yeah.
Any more confusions?
There's a lot of abbreviation and acronym with the AWS network. Do you think when you have time you can list us all those acronym or abbreviation, and then at least then we can make our own search?
Okay, so there are, I do agree, there are a lot of actually. So even though you try to memorize it, it's little difficult, but frequent reading can happen actually. Only that can help. Or when you start working on these concepts, then it will be on top of your head. So yeah, probably I think taking notes is better actually. Like what is ACLs? Where do we define ACLs? Anybody?
Access control.
Sorry, repeat that.
In the IAM configuration.
No. Anybody else? Fast. What is ACL and where do we define?
ACL.
Don't Google.
I mean, yeah, ACL is access control list, and
Somebody Googled.
no, I have not. So, but in policies, I think we define, right, in IAM, in the initial classes.
No, we define access control list at the S3 bucket.
Okay,
Who
in
can
the
access
X.
the
Okay.
bucket and who, you remember when we want to create a bucket, public or private, you want to expose your bucket and objects to the world, you define that in the access control list. Same way you just add N, it becomes network access control list. So it is at the network layer. So who comes in, who goes out. So it's a firewall there.
So I think those rules, which are all common to all the security groups within that network, I think we can abstract them and push it to NACL.
No, NACL does not, you do not configure the same way as what you configure security groups. Usually many companies, what they do is they don't touch the NACL.
Oh, okay.
They don't touch the NACL, they take the default NACL. Default NACL, what it does is whatever is allowed in the security group is allowed. Whatever is allowed outside of the security group is allowed. So that's what it does. But there is a concept called micro segmentation, wherein you create a kind of a small subunits which do not talk to each other. This is a high-end concept of security. This one, which I had designed for one of my client actually. So if you're interested, I can show you that.
Mhm.
You want to know?
Sure, but why we want to do micro segmentation? Because Salim bhai, I mean, I'm trying to understand the why behind things. So so maybe
So
I
the
can
reason is,
remember.
for example, now this database server, this web server, right? This belongs
Mhm.
to my team one, okay?
Okay.
And this belongs to team two. Now within a company, there may be competitors, team one and team two, right?
Oh,
Right.
really?
Possible. There are possibilities, right? Or
Means
there may not be possibilities. Now,
means because if they belong to different teams, the data of one team may not be of interest to the may not be
again,
hidden from other team. Like for
this web server, this database has too much of confidential information. You don't
yes, yes,
want anybody else to know, like
yeah.
your credit card details, your SSN
Mhm.
numbers, and all those things. Whether it's
Mhm.
encrypted or not encrypted, that's a different security. But you have important data here, right? You don't want to share, and you want only this web server to communicate to this one. You do not want any other communication to come in here. So even if somebody adds a security rule here to communicate from this web server to this one, right? You place another security network security layer here, actually, NACL here, so that even if the security groups are more easily accessible than network ACLs. In many organization, the application team has ownership to create security group and add rules. In not in every organization, but many organization have that flexibility. But network ACL, no application team has access. It's only the network team or the network security
Yes, yes,
who has access to it. So
yeah,
you deny permissions that anyway. So that kind of policies are there. However, if you confine the network rule creation only to the network security team, then you don't need the NACL there.
So then in that case, what do you do in the security group? And when you set up the security group, you for the inbound call, you're gonna in the source, you specify where it's only allowed.
Yes, you specify what is allowed and what is going on. So we'll see that in more sessions actually. We'll have more deep dive of network security group and NACL.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think this is good. This slide.
Yeah. Instance associated with a security cannot talk to each other unless you add a rule. So even though two instances are within the same subnet, they cannot talk to each other. They still need the firewall communication between to talk to each other. So it's very important. We missed out on that in many scenarios. So that's a limitation. It tells you about more this one. So best practices you can read.
So you said two instances within the same subnet
Yes.
Cannot talk with each other unless you set up the security group accordingly.
Exactly. Even though they are within the same subnet, like one server is 01 and one server is 02, even then they cannot talk. They are close to each other. They may be in the same rack. You need to explicitly define a security group, associate a security group to attach. Now, further, what happens here is you cannot launch a server without a security group. You need to have a security group attached to a server. Now, that server, that security group can be a default by when you launch an instance, AWS itself creates a default security group with a minimum port SSH 22 or RDP port. So, however, you can create your own security group with a separate set of rules, and then you can attach it. Now, the latest, I mean to say, for various security reasons, many organization, I would not say all, many organization will not allow RDP or SSH. So
What's the allow then?
yeah, there's another way to communicate now. That is why, because all communications, all threats to the server are via port SSH. So they block that port itself. But that happens only when a company gets matured, who is already into AWS for almost 2-3 years. Only then they get into that kind of.
Yeah.
How what they use then to connect to the server?
There is something called SSM. So they use SSM actually. So SSM has been there for almost 4 years, but AWS created a more sophisticated way of logging in since last 2 years. I'll show you when we do the practicality. Okay.
Yes.
So these are network ACLs. To add further layer, we already discussed this, so I'll quickly go through that. So network access control list adds a further layer of security. You can configure network ACLs. They are stateless traffic filters. Stateless. You need to remember that. Let me highlight that actually. So these are stateless traffic filters that apply to all traffic inbound and outbound from subnet within Amazon VPC. These ACLs can contain ordered rules to allow or deny traffic based on IP protocol, service port, and destination IP. Same way like this one, but the configuration is not exactly the same like security group. It's a little different.
So security groups are stateful and ACLs are stateless.
Exactly. So you need to remember what in my slides, when I have highlighted something or bold, set the font to bold, just put that in your mind like a seal. Don't forget that specific word. That's an exam word.
Okay.
So when you say network access control list, when you say network access control list, acts at the not the sub, yeah, on the subnet level. The network access control list acts at the subnet level, and the other one, the access control list, that acts on which level?
Don't get confused, brother. Access control list acts for S3 buckets.
S3. Yeah.
They don't come in the networking. We are discussing networking concepts here.
No, I know. I just want to,
Yeah.
the
Access control list.
concept.
Yeah,
Okay.
access control list act, make a S3 bucket public or private. Same way here, network access control list, allow, deny. There also S3, you allow anyone, deny anyone, right? So here also you allow, deny. So in access control list also, you can define who can have access, whether it is public or even within private. You can confine that only people from the another AWS account can access, or only these users can access. So you can define further.
And you can assign to them if they can access certain service, like like Lambda, for example, or
No, you cannot use access control list for Lambda. You
okay.
define that at the IAM policy level.
Oh, the IAM policy will
Yes.
set up that
Yes.
to allow which can use certain service who cannot.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Limbay,
Huh.
I missed the last class, so I'm not sure. What is a subnet actually?
Oh, you missed the last class. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me draw it and explain. That would be better for you.
Okay.
So every organization will have its own network data center, correct? Now the data center will have multiple servers. It will have multiple servers. Then it will have routers, switches. Okay. So a lot of appliances, and every appliance will have an IP address. And there may be a printer also. Okay. Now, for example, there's a printer. Printer also has IP address. Now, this all form a network of your organization, correct? And if your laptop is still there here, so your laptop also will have a IP address when you are within the network of your organization. So all this constitute your network. Now, for easy management, what organization do is they break this network into multiple segments. These multiple segments are nothing but subnets. Net is network, sub is a part of your network, so that for easy management, like for example, all the printers are belong to this subnet, all workstation belong to this subnet, all server database servers belong to this subnet, all web servers belong to this subnet, routers belong to this subnet. So they define a CIDR range. CIDR is CIDR. It is cashless inter-domain routing. So it is a configuration of how you define the IP address. Like for example, if I go to my own system, I have this one. If I go here, run your command and type in ipconfig, right? So my IP address is this much, 192.168.1.5. So that is my IP address. That is my IPv6 address. Like now this is my IP address. Then you have the subnet marks. It belongs to a subnet range of this one actually.
So that's your subnet.
Yeah, this is your subnet mask actually, but overall actually. So
What is the difference between subnet and subnet mask?
So subnet mask is kind of an overview of it actually. So it is not the exact range of it. It is a overview. This is at the global level actually, but sorry, it is at the local level of my machine. So I still have all. So usually every subnet has a range of 255, 256, or 255. One you remove up to 256.256.256.256 or 255.255.255.255.
Sorry,
So,
bhai, can I take a stab? So I think those three octets, wherever there is a subnet, so those are like reserved bits for the network, right? Like 255, 255, 255 means like these three octets are fixed. So you can only get IP range in the wherever there is a zero. I guess maybe wrong, but
yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly.
okay.
The
So
size of the bits you can
Without
share
a
information.
additional router, you can have your devices up to 255 here in the zero level.
oh yeah, I think.
So
Right?
it's devices, not the bit size.
255. Now you want to have additional more than 255, then you need to add another subnet mask. You need to talk to your service provider, have a router there, and then you need to have additional. But here, in this kind of a configuration, you can have to have up to.
So this subnet mask means that your system can be connected to 256 devices,
No,
like at a single point of time.
my system is part of this 255, this subnet.
Okay. Oh, do you mean the in a single subnet you can be
Subnet is
part
bigger level,
that much?
customer has at this level. So you probably did not see this slide. So this will give you a more better clarity.
Mhm.
We are running out of time. We will reach connect back again. Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
sure.
sorry, Salim. I don't mean to interrupt, but maybe we can continue with cider. I mean, yeah, if we missed the flow already.
Sorry, repeat that.
I think
No,
you're
go
talking
ahead,
about
Salim.
cider. So yeah, if you think that flow is good, maybe we can continue from there.
Yeah. So let me come quickly go back to this one and come back. This is important slide
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
for the sake of. So, Khader, did you see
Mhm.
this slide? No, right?
I just joined at this time,
Oh yeah, this one was very informative. Yeah.
but I couldn't figure out
Range
what
are
things
defined.
were actually in this.
So this is how the CIDR ranges are defined. So
Uh-huh.
basically, /29. So so the IP addresses are defined using /16.
Uh-huh.
Slash by a slash. This defines the CIDR range. It is not visible to you, but it is configured at the DHCP, this one. So
Okay.
I mispronounced that. It is not classless, cashless, it is classless.
Okay. So Salim bhai,
Hmm.
yeah. So what does that address over there signify? My thing, like how can I interpret or translate that to like something like network address or something?
So
How can it translate?
when you go back to your system, right, it is one IP of your own system. So it belongs to /32. So this requires a little bit of self-study. So you need to understand how CIDR is. If you just Google it, wiki mein aata hai. So you just go through that. But basically, you define an IP range for a subnet. So this is one subnet which has 8 IP address. You can use this IP addresses to allocate to your server, to your printer, to your appliances, or anything actually. Now this CIDR range, a range of IP address starting from 0 to 7. There are 8 of them, including 0, right? So this is a part of the subnet. So you're grouping multiple IP addresses as one subnet actually. So same way you can group, if you want 16 IP addresses, you can have a /28 and create a subnet. So you can again you define this like this 10.48.64. This is your complete network. This is your
Okay.
complete network. Like here 10.48.0.0. This is your complete network. If I go further, it would be 10.0.0.0/8.
Okay.
So that's the
So
lowest.
Salim bhai, if I understand that table correctly, how does it translate it to physical things over there? Like the SIDR 29 is basically uh, yeah, or IPS means that there are like 8 machines you can connect in that range or something like that with
Let's go here.
SIDR
So you have 192.168.1.5. So this is my
IP4 address.
IP for this one.
Uh-huh.
So now I have an option. It allows me this much.
We can continue.
Hello.
No, 255 dot. No, it is not 2.32. It will be. This would be like this. /32. /32 gives me only one IP address. That is my specific. So I have another machines which are being using 192.168.1.1. Then I have 192.168.1.2,
2.2.
etc., etc. I can have up to 1.255
Oh,
subnet mask. So
okay.
this 0 can go up to 255.
Okay. That means that you can have that many amount of machines connected to a single subnet at that
Yes.
point of time.
Yes, exactly.
And with that address, like 255, 255, 255, and then 1232.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. And then what is this CIDR signify in this table actually? And with the range, is it that means like towards the right you have 8 number of IP addresses.
So
The
what
first
happens here is when you are
are
defining your VPC, VPC is a virtual private cloud of
uh-huh.
AWS, right? So this is the virtual private cloud what I have drawn here. Okay. कहाँ गया ये कहाँ गया? Yeah, here.